Women bring something unique to the table. We have a unique mindset. We're able to problem solve, and we're able to bring a different element into cybersecurity, and it's essential.
Welcome to Women Talk Tech, the podcast for business professionals committed to advancing women in the tech sector.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Women Talk Tech. I'm your host, Wiese. And today, my guest is Brenley Veater. And Brenley has a very interesting story about her journey into tech. She's currently president of a company called Cingo that is in the cybersecurity area. And I'm keen to talk about that topic because I think cybersecurity is on everyone's mind these days, how we protect ourselves, protect our privacy online, and particularly when we're big organizations with data and as we entrust our data to certain companies as individuals, what that means and how companies are being hit with more and more compliance to be secure, which I'm pretty happy about as a consumer. But Brenley's going to tell us all about that. So welcome to the show, Brenley. It's so great to have you here. And I think you're joining us from southern Utah, just outside Las Vegas. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, thanks for having me.
I always like to sort of pinpoint where somebody is in the geography. And, the first question we always ask all guests, take us back to Brenley in high school. What were you doing in high school? Were you thinking about a career in tech? What was on your radar?
Yeah, oddly enough, I was not interested in any of the STEM kind of classes that were offered. I come from a very small school. There was about 36 kids in my graduating class. So super small school. But I was really passionate about musical theater and fine arts. So I actually was accepted to a school out in Los Angeles, and I attended for about a year. And I realized that my passion didn't really lie in musical theater and fine arts. So I came back to southern Utah. I have this kind of amazing rise story that I like to share with people because I am still younger in the tech industry, but I was a waitress at Black Bear Diner, and I had these clients come in. And I called them my clients because they came in, they ordered the same thing, I'd make sure they were taken care of. And they offered me an opportunity to come work for the cybersecurity company as an admin assistant. And I was like, absolutely, that's what I'm going to do. So I took the job opportunity. And as soon as I took the job opportunity and I realized what they did behind the locked doors, that's when my passion and my desire to grow into cybersecurity in the tech industry really started. So I started taking courses online, I started self-educating, and then I stepped into the role of a security analyst. And from there, it's been a journey. It's been a wild ride. I've held multiple roles: security analyst, team lead, company controller, managing all the compliance, and now president of Cingo Solutions.
So I'm really hoping that a lot of our younger listeners are listening today, because I think your story is very familiar to a lot of people. We go to university for one thing, we realize that's not it. And I can completely relate to your story because I went to university for theater and film production and fine arts. And so here I am firmly embedded in the tech sector as well. But it's so great to see a younger woman who is not only passionate about this topic, which can be very complex and very daunting at times, but realized really quickly through a serendipitous meeting, I guess is what you would say, that you decided this was a really interesting area. Tell us why you think this is so interesting. Tell us what really jazzes you about cybersecurity today.
I mean, it's advancing so fast. Every single day I come in, it's something that is so amazing about the tech industry is it's unfixed. Every day is a new problem, every day is new technology, and every day poses a new challenge. So it's not redundant, it's not repetitive, and you're able to really step into that innovative and kind of passionate phase where you kind of just could create and move as fast as you want to move in the tech industry. So that's where the passion sparks from is every day's different. Every day's a challenge.
And what I'm interested in, I always talk to young people who are really interested in the shows like CSI and FBI related stuff. It feels to me like the other angle to cybersecurity is you're having to be a bit of a detective at times. And there's a real interesting side of it where you're constantly trying to get to the bottom of something. Do you find your sleuthing skills come out when you're talking about this?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a program. So you can actually get whitelisted, whitelisted as a white hat hacker, and that's ethical hacking, right? And a lot of times we kind of, we pick locks. We're very curious people, and so kind of to be on the other end of combating cybercrime, you almost need to have a mindset of a hacker in order to protect and know the tactics that they're going to be utilizing to get into systems and steal that data. So you almost need to be ahead of the hackers, but then also have that mindset of how are they going to get in and what am I going to do to protect it? How am I going to keep the lock locked, right?
Right. And I want to dig at that a little bit because, I oftentimes will talk with a lot of young women and they will say, I have absolutely no interest in going into tech. It doesn't interest me at all. And then I say, okay, so tell me some things that you like to do in your free time. Tell me some things that you're really interested in. And then you'll get into shows that they're watching or things that really interest them. And I think to myself, you'd be perfect in cybersecurity if this is what you are interested in, forensics and things like that. And people don't realize how important that role is online. And so I love the attributes that you're talking about right now, the idea that it's constantly changing, the idea that you're in there trying to figure things out and you almost have to, act like the criminal to understand how to stop the criminal. But let's talk about how you got to be president of Cingo and just describe what your company is doing right now. And I think it's just fantastic to see a female president. I'm very excited about you being part of a new peer group that I know we're part of together. I want to see more women like you sitting in the big chair. But tell us a little bit about how you got here. Tell us this story.
Yeah, so kind of as I was talking about earlier, I just found a passion and drive that kind of projected me further into the role of president. But I will say it took a lot of hard work. It took breaking down barriers, and it became something that I had to become very comfortable living in imposter syndrome with. And I think that's something that not just women in tech, but everyone in tech can kind of relate to, because a lot of times we don't feel like we have the qualifications to actually fill the role to be in this job. But that's something that I had to hit head on and make sure that I was working and outworking everyone and making sure that I understood the company as a whole. So kind of the whole initiative with Cingo Solutions moving forward is we are really looking for clients that understand compliance and need cybersecurity. So we're in a very unique niche. And as president of Cingo Solutions, we are moving forward with our marketing and our sales and making sure that we really have that perfect client that fits that fits what we offer as the service is perfect for for what they are needing. So that's really interesting, is just stepping into that role as president and kind of seeing, not every client is going to be a perfect fit, but the clients that you do find that are perfect fit, those are partners and those are long-term.
Why do women still feel that they need 100% of the qualifications required to apply for a job when men apply for these same positions with only 60%? What does ambition mean today for women, and how has that evolved in the workforce over time? Here at Women Talk Tech, we've been thinking a lot about the idea of ambition, and we want to hear from you. That's why we've launched the Women Talk Tech Ambition Survey, to understand how ambition factors into the progression of women in the workforce. So, what does ambition mean to you? Take the anonymous survey now and let us know. Find the survey link in the show notes below or on the Women Talk Tech LinkedIn page.
Right. Okay, let's cycle back on a couple of topics here and a couple of themes. You talked about the hard work, and I don't doubt at all how, the drive and the hard work. What's one of the hardest things you've had to do so far in your career?
So it was about 2 years ago, and I was taking over. This was before I was team lead. I was a security analyst, and there was basically a leadership vacuum. that I had to step into this role of team lead of Cingo Solutions. And at that time, I didn't feel like I had the qualifications at all. I was just starting as a security analyst. I was just understanding the tech and the systems and how all the operations kind of incorporated with one another. And so I stepped into this role of team lead, and it was very daunting. And I went through major imposter syndrome. But I knew I had to hit it head on, and employing the right people, I would say, is the most essential thing to any organization. We have a really, really good partnership with a company here in Southern Utah. It's called Techie for Life. And they basically take neurodiverse individuals and they teach them just the basic fundamentals, the soft skills. And we have an amazing partnership, and we employ those neurodiverse or, maybe people that struggle with ADHD. These maybe they're not disabilities, they are just maybe barriers or difficulties, and we're able to bring them into Cingo Solutions and provide good employment opportunities for them. And that's really how the department grew. And I would say that was the biggest challenge, is just growing that department and finding unique ways to fill those roles and make sure that we are having the proper people sit in the chairs to protect and run the cybersecurity operations.
I want to give a shout out here and just say we're currently running an ambition survey, and we're trying to get a check-in on how people are viewing ambition. And it came from doing over 100 podcast episodes where almost every guest mentioned the idea that women will hold back and not apply for something unless they have 100% of the qualifications, and men will do it at 60%. So we want to check in on women, ambition and how we're viewing it today. We're learning some very interesting things that we didn't expect from this survey. You have mentioned it, and you've used the word imposter syndrome. You knew you had to step into that role. You may have felt that you weren't quite ready. Maybe you didn't have 100% of the qualifications. What, though, was the main driving mindset that you had that you said, screw it, I'm doing this. I'm gonna do this. I don't need permission. I'm taking charge.
I think the main mindset was when I initially started this role and I learned about the dangers that lurk online. That is what drove me, is the lack of understanding that everyday people have about cybercrime. That's what drove me. That's what really planted a seed inside me of, I need to educate people, and I need to be the one protecting. And I need to be the one that is getting the word out there that cybercrime is a huge thing, and cybersecurity is the way that we combat that. So I would say that is where my ambition comes from. I actually own a nonprofit organization that educates all demographics how to be safe online. We have some children book series. So it starts at a very young age to start educating. And a lot of people just aren't aware. And I would say that's the main driving force for me, is just really just planting that seed and moving forward. And that's where I got started.
That's awesome. I love it. I want to come back to one other thing you mentioned as you were talking about moving into this role as president of Cingo. And you said that you had to overcome a lot of biases. What were some of the biases you had to overcome?
Women in tech, right? That's not something you see a lot. Right. Last year, it was 11% of women in the cybersecurity field. Now it's 24%. So we're making strides, huge, massive strides.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a crazy statistic.
Why do you think it's doubled so quickly? Because, the numbers of women in tech overall are still hovering in the low 20s, and we haven't moved the needle in the last 10 years. Why do you think there's been such a movement in cybersecurity?
From what I have experienced and what I've witnessed employing other women, myself, and speaking to my employers, women bring something unique to the table. We have a unique mindset. We're able to problem solve, and we're able to bring something different, a different element, right, into cybersecurity, and it's essential. And I think that's really what is driving that number up is, there definitely is this level of, the statistic you brought out that most women won't apply for jobs if they don't have 100% of the criteria or 90% of the criteria. I think we're starting to see that number go down a little bit. And I think women are kind of stepping out, and employers particularly are realizing that unique niche that women are bringing to cybersecurity.
I think that that's a great point. And I often think about all the roles that we play as women. And it's not that men don't play those roles either, but
Right.
I think we've been more wired for a lot longer to have to do it all. And as a result, we're very good project managers. We know how to get stuff done, and oftentimes we know how to get people on board to get stuff done. And I think those skills have been overlooked for a while. And I know that when I was coming up through the ranks, people didn't value those skills. They wanted somebody who was more hard-nosed and direct and a little bit top down. And I think we're all starting to realize that that's not the way to build organizations, and that we need some other types of skills in there. What's your vision for Cingo going forward? How are you going to build the organization? What do you want the culture of the company to be like?
The culture right now, I would say, is amazing, and I want to continue that growth. I want to continue fostering a culture that is inclusivity, that provides good employment for good people. We bring people on and we don't necessarily require them to know all the tech stuff. We educate them on the job, because I would much rather educate a person how to operate within the organization than have them come with pre-notions of what the organization is going to be like. So I teach them the application, and that's kind of moving forward with the culture side. As far as Cingo Solution goes, we want to grow. We obviously want to grow. We want to have those clients that need compliance and cybersecurity and don't know where to look for it. And we're helping them with HIPAA, we're helping them with NCUNA, we're helping them with NIST. All of these compliance requirements that are coming out, even the CCPA, the UCPA, these compliance requirements that mom and pop shops have no idea how to go about becoming compliant for these things. That's how we want to grow, we want to help, and we want to offer that for a decent price. And we're going to earn your business every single month. That's just how we operate here. So
that's awesome. And I'm excited to share that story in the marketplace, because I think we've seen Gartner reports and other reports that suggest that the growth engine of the country, North America, and as a whole, is going to be in the small business sector. And I think those people are often underserved with solutions that are either cheap and cheerful and not inclusive, or tend to be, hitting a fly with a gigantic truck, and it's too much for what we need. I've worked in the small, medium-sized business sector for many, many years now, and I find that either people are trying to take really big solutions and just skinny them down for the small business sector, which is not the way to build something, or you've built something that's very much a point solution. It does one thing, but it doesn't do very many things well. And so, I've worked a lot in the Microsoft channel. I've seen how Microsoft has evolved over the last little while. So I love where you're going with this. I think this sounds like a fantastic way forward. And I think you're right on the cutting edge of things that need to happen. So thank you so much for not being afraid to take that role, for being a voice. And I hope this is first of many, many conversations that we have together, as I watch closely as you're building your company, and you've got new fans now. As a result of being on the show today, I think a lot of people are going to want to follow you and watch you closely what you're up to. I just want to take a minute and say to listeners, if you haven't completed the ambition survey, please do by going to Women Talk Tech. You can also find me on my LinkedIn profile, and you'll be able to find the links there to take the survey. And I hope we'll be able to put in the show notes for you, Brenley. I'd love to learn more about your nonprofit organization. I'd love to be able to share that with listeners. I think that's just fantastic, the work you're doing there. But most importantly, helping people in the channel understand how Cingo could be a great solution for them as they're creating their toolkit. And I talk with lots of managed service providers almost on a daily basis. And a lot of them are struggling to figure out what their next set of services need to look like. And obviously, cybersecurity is leading the list. So I think you're going to be hugely successful. And I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing.
Thank you, Marie.
You've been listening to another episode of Women Talk Tech. I'm your host, Marie Wiese, and today my guest was Brenley Veater, who is the president of Cingo, and you're going to hear a whole lot more from this woman. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening.